morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in Salesforce Epics Hour. Today, we are going to talk about org monitoring with Salesforce open source project and with the Grafana. So, we have a great speaker, Nicholas, with us, who is the founder and the creator of this open source org. So, let me hand over him for his introduction and the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Amit, for the invitation to the great Apex Hours with an S. So I think I have to introduce myself briefly, so I can start to do that. I am 40 years old and I code for a long, long time. I started at 10 on a Commodore computer in QBasic. And then I decided that it was something that could be used to make a living. So, so I started as a junior developer at 16 years old. I was in a full-time contract at 17, and I made my career. And at some point, I stumbled on something named Salesforce. Didn't really know what it was, but I enjoyed it. So so this is my full-time job for now 8 years. So today I am CTO at Cloudity, which is Salesforce integration partner, mostly in Europe, but also more and more around the world. So we are 350 people. And as I like open source, I try to join my two passions, open source and Salesforce, to build things that are first useful on our Cloudity projects, but why not sharing it with the rest of the community? So I created something named SFDX with, so this is a Salesforce CLI plugin, and there is also a Visual Studio Code extension because some of my admin colleagues didn't want to write command lines. So I said, okay, we'll create you a menu. And it was a good idea, I think. So what I will show you today is about it. And I am also the creator of other tools that you may know, like Megalinter. We'll talk a little bit about it later. And also for people who code in Groovy, which is not my case anymore for some time, but this is a language. I also created a wrapper for the Groovy linter, which is today my most commonly used open source package, but nobody knows it. That's fun. So if you want to know more, just Google me and look on my GitHub, and you can see everything that I like to do. Hell, would we want to monitor our org? There can be many reasons for that, but the most obvious one is to have a safe production environment, which is not always the case. Then we will see how it will work, how it already works today, and then we will see how any one of you can install it on your Salesforce production org, but also on other orgs. And then to finish, just to show that this is not just slides or just talks, we will have a live demo where I will install the monitoring, the SFDXRDS monitoring on a sandbox because we won't play with production orgs. But you will see that in a few minutes, we can have a monitoring up and running with your org. So first, why, why would we want to monitor our org? First, metadata backup, because we all know there are tools that allow to do metadata backup, but basically they do the same that what SFDX hard disk can do. So if you don't have purchased one of those tools like On Backup, Gearset, Odaceva, and others, if your requirement is just metadata backup, you don't need it because you can have it using open source. And why do we have backup? Because we want to see what is happening on our orgs. Like, for example, if admins update things in production, if we need to make a rollback because we know that native Salesforce doesn't save anything about history, so except some flow versions. But basically today, if you don't have any metadata backup in place, if someone breaks your production org, You can just cry and try to guess what happened, but with metadata backup, you will know what happened and hopefully find how to solve the problem. And backup is something nice, but we will also want to have a close look on what happens on your org. For example, admins, they all say, and even developers, they all say that they didn't touch anything in production. But with the monitoring, we will be able to see, and all the team will be able to see when that happens. It can also be useful to have a look at org limits to know when, for example, they will be reached. So if we want to prevent Salesforce to call us or our clients to sell more storage, file or records or whatever, we can know when there will be no more room and anticipate. And failing Tesla's technical debt indicators, and we will see a little bit more details in the next slides. And this is a new stuff, which is bundled with SFDX hard disk monitoring, is the capability to generate your org documentation using AgentForce. Not only, but supercharge your documentation with AgentForce, and I hope you will like the results. So quick example of metadata backup. So for non-technical people, sorry, this is some screenshot about Git. But for those who know Git, basically every day you will have a job running, and for every difference will be added in a new commit that will be pushed. So basically you will have a Git repository with one commit by day where changes has been detected. And of course, you will be able to see the difference, the exact difference about what has been changed. For example, a sneaky mandatory field added on a custom object that could break all the validation rules, flows, and whatever. So this is for the metadata backup. And so we saw that with the backup, we have the difference before and after. But we don't know who did what. So to know that, we could, of course, go to setup audit trail, download the 6 months of updates and filter columns and filter and blah, blah, blah. But what if we could have directly in a Slack channel, for example, notifications that will tell you that some unauthorized user, basically everyone except the release manager, directly updated the production org. In this example, we can see that yesterday, someone added a custom field on account and updated the flow directly in our fake production. Let's imagine it's a real production. So the advantage to have that is that if something is broken on production org, you can directly first look at the metadata backup to see what changed. And second, you can look at your notifications to see who changed and probably guess why and find the appropriate solutions. Technical debt is often a topic that stakeholders don't really care about because while it works, why care about technical debt? Simply because technical debt has a cost. And this cost, it's in days, money, lost data, corrupted data, even security issues. So having a close look at the technical debt of your org is really important because you don't want your org to become too messy, because too messy org becomes more difficult to maintain, and you have more and more regressions after every go live, etc. So it is really important to clean, to have a clean org with the less technical debt possible, to be able to plan for the future of your org, because it works tomorrow, okay, but we also want our org to work in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. So having a close look to technical debt is what will allow you to plan for the future of your org. And with SFDX hard disk monitoring, we have different scans that will that will check the technical debt. So for example, it will check for Apex PMD issues. It will check for ESLint issues in LWC and Aura. It is also bundled with the Lightning Flow Scanner. So for example, if you have a DML in a loop or something that works today because there is not a lot of data in your production org, but will crash tomorrow when there will be more, it's important to see what is wrong today to avoid it generates problem tomorrow. We also have security scans. So sometimes people add some credentials directly hard-coded, and they say they think and they believe what they think when they say, "Oh, I will remove it after before deploying." And sometimes they forget. So so having alerts that will tell you that I don't know. AWS API key or any credential is hard-coded in a code or a flow, or even in any other type of metadata, is very interesting. And we do all that using Megalinter by Ox Security, which is an open source tool that can basically make static analysis for any type of project, including Salesforce ones. So it is nice to see, to have a look on our org, and we will see later that we can have Slack and or Microsoft Teams notifications for kind of everything. But the problem with notifications is the more you have, the less you read. If every morning when you arrive at work and you have 20 notifications, probably you won't read them. So SFDX Ardis monitoring has been coupled with a tool named Grafana. So Grafana is, again, an open source tool, but as we are lazy, we prefer to use the free tier. So basically for 3 users, it is totally free to use the free tier and to set up what I will show you today, and I am already showing you on the slide. And so in such dashboard, you can see, for example, the limits. So here you have the 5 limits, but if you click on the detail, you have the details of all the limits that you can find and imagine in Salesforce, even those that you don't even think you didn't even know exist. But basically, every time one of your limit is more than 50%, you will have a sweet alert. If you are more than 75%, something will become red, and if you are more than 100%, we know that happens, you will have even more red numbers. You can also see the list. You can see if you pay licenses that are not used. For example, here in my example, we have almost 500 users that the client paid licenses for and that have not used their user for more than 6 months. So maybe we have some questions to ask. We can also see that, oh, we have no failing test, and we can also monitor the Apex code coverage. And we have also other indicators. So we all know release updates. You know that in the setup where we never go to see the release updates, here you have the number of release updates to handle. And if you click, you will see the details. You can also see the edition of your or you can see when will happen the next version upgrade. You can see other technical debt indicators, like, for example, flows or validation rules that are in production, but not active. So why are they in production? Maybe they should be deleted, like unused connected apps, unused Apex classes, fields that are not referenced in any profile or permission set, or labels that are not used. You can also have a look on the licenses, so how much you have, how much you use. And also what you can see with Grafana is the evolution of the indicators. So for example, here we can clearly see that API requests are more active in during the week, and people luckily have some rest during the weekend. So this indicator evolution will will also, for example, help you to evaluate when you will not have any more storage. If so, this one is daily API request, but I will show you later. If it was, I don't know, record storage, you would see a growing line, so you could guess when the line would reach the maximum. And of course, you can, for any indicator, you can have in Grafana the list of all details. So, so for example, on this is the indicator about release updates to check. Here we can see the detailed list of release updates. And if you want to have them in Excel or CSV, there will be also some ways to export that to stakeholders or your clients. So we have seen that we can monitor a lot of indicators, and indicators and metadata backup are good, but what if we could have retro documentation of our org, so basically our metadatas. So the SFDX monitoring job allows you to automatically generate documentation, and it will, so it's quite new. It's maybe 1 month. We created that during Christmas. So it's still new, so you can also ask for new stuff. But today you can have documentation about objects, about flows, about Apex, about pages, about, so if you are in a SFDXRD CI/CD project, you can also have information about the configuration. You can see manage package. You can see all the metadatas displayed nicely. And this documentation can be converted into HTML pages as a static website that you can host anywhere, of course, behind some authorization, because you don't want to publicly expose your project documentation. So here is an example of the object documentation. So on an object documentation, you can see where it is in the object model, what is the description, and I will show you more in the real demo because it will be more interesting when I will be able to scroll down. We also have flow documentation, and very interesting, we also have flow history documentation. So I think you all know the Git diff, which can show you the differences between two states of metadatas. But for flows, it's usually something quite awful to understand because you have this big XML with differences and you don't really understand. And with SFDXRD's documentation and also with the VS Code extension, you can have the same than with Git diff, but with a visual display. So orange means it has been updated, red means it has been deleted, and green means it has been added. I will show you that, of course, later. Okay, so how does it work? Because there is no magic, just IT, just open source and free tiers. So technically, it is Git based. So it means that anyone having access to a Git server like GitLab, Azure, GitHub, or Bitbucket can have all of that scheduled to run every night. So we will configure a monitoring job and we will schedule it. So every night, for example, when we are all sleeping, it will run. And when this monitoring job will run, it will call a CI/CD workflow. So a job like GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, Azure pipelines, or Bitbucket pipelines. And it will call SFDXRDs, who will do different things. It will first do the metadata backup and commit it to the repository. So you are all good with the backup. It will also, from the metadata, and from the org connection, collect all the indicators and create first detailed CSV and XLS reports. So when you want to see everything that has been detected, you will have a good old pre-formatted Excel report. If you, like me, are a little bit lazy and you don't want to open big reports every day, you can have what is relevant as notifications on Slack or Microsoft Teams. And what is important is that it's not only you that will have the notification, but everyone in the team that can be in the channel. So everyone in the team can know what happens in the orgs, what are the alerts, what should be checked, what should be done. Um, Also, SFDX will call Grafana APIs to send indicators. So SFDX is delivered with pre-made dashboards. So if you make the Grafana installation, you just have to import the SFDX dashboards to connect SFDX to Grafana with some variables, and you will have all that out of the box. And this is the same for HTML documentation. So the monitoring job in the Git repository, it will also generate some markdown pages, some mermaid diagrams that will be used to generate documentation. So this documentation can be open in your locally in VS Code, but you can see that you will be able to see that we can also easily host it securely with Cloudflare free tier. Oops. So behind the scenes, we think it is very important for a monitoring tool to just monitor. So of course, every Salesforce CLI call, every API call will be in read-only because we don't want a monitoring tool to update some things. It happens that we thought that because sometimes we could script the fixing of some issues, but we consider it is not the role of a monitoring tool to fix stuff, but just to read. So the monitoring just reads, not updates. But don't worry, every time there is an alert, usually there is some guidance explaining what to do to solve it. And so technically, this is a Salesforce CLI command that calls other core CLI commands that call using GSForce, the REST API, the bulk API, the tuning API. And as any Salesforce CLI package, we also have the use of external libraries, so many TypeScript libraries, of course, curated. So we don't take any library because we understand that SFDX connects to your production org. So we don't use some random libraries that can be easily hacked or whatever. And also, SFDX repository is also monitored by Ox Security Cloud Service, which business is the pipeline, CI/CD pipeline security, application security posture. So basically, we do everything we can for it to be safe, and I am pretty sure that it is safe and probably as safe as vendor solutions. And we also use Python to generate documentation because there was a great library named mkdocs material to generate documentation. So we used it. So how can we make the installation of all that? Basically, and I will make the demo of that, so I won't talk long about it. But what I will show you is that if you follow this video or another video which is already published, you can easily create a repository on any Git provider, configure notifications, configure monitoring, and you are good to go. And that's what I will show you. And if you want advanced features like Grafana dashboards, like online documentation hosted on Cloudflare or somewhere else, or also enjoy the capability to have AgentForce give you more details about your documentation, or even when you don't have documentation, on metadatas, AgentForce can create it, can guess it with pretty good results, as you will see. So it's a little bit longer to install the integration with Grafana and to auto-publish the documentation. But again, it's all documented and using free tiers and open source tools, including the free tier of AgentForce named Salesforce Foundation. So if it's okay with you, Amit, let's go to the demo. Are you still here?
Yep.
Oops. Okay. So in today's demo, I will just show you how to configure a monitoring on. So it won't be a production org because I don't play with my client's production orgs. It will be on the sandbox org, which is named Plainico, but it works the same with any org. And I want to monitor this org. So what do I do? First, I create a blank repository that I will call Apex Hour Monitoring. I initialize it with a README. It's always easier when it's not empty. So my empty repository is created. So I will clone it locally on my computer and open it in VS Code. So I will open the repository and I will open SFDXRD's Visual Studio Code extension. So it takes a few seconds to run. So to save the time, I can quickly show you
So
how to
the
install.
audience need to install that extension into the VS Code first, right?
Sorry?
People need to install that SFDX hard
Yes,
plugin into the VS Code.
indeed, exactly. And when people need to do that, there is SFDXRD's documentation with again a video explaining click by click what is necessary to install SFDXRDs and the VS Code extension and Salesforce CLI. Just following the clicks, it takes maybe 10, 15 minutes. But once you have it, you have it for always. And for those who are wondering what is used behind, it is Node.js, it is Salesforce CLI, and it is Salesforce CLI plugins. And once you have installed that, you have an SFDXRDs extension here that you can find if you look correctly. So you have the extension. And for information, this extension is also available on Code Builder, so the remote VS Code provided by Salesforce. So now I am in my repository, my SFDXRDs is installed, and I will click on Setup Configuration and Configure Org Monitoring. And when I click on any menu of SFDXRDs, it just runs command lines. So I clicked on Configure Org Monitoring. It ran the command line hardis org configure monitoring. And all the commands have the same behavior, like questions and response. So first question, do you have the SFDX harddisk monitoring prerequisites on your Git server? So let's imagine I don't know what it is. I can just click on the documentation and it will bring me to doc pages. So I know I am on GitLab, prerequisites on GitLab, and I see that I have to create an access token and to create a CI/CD variable. So that's what I will do right away. So I go in the settings, access token. I create, let's say, Apex Hour Hardis demo access token. I set it at developer and I give him the rights read repository, and write repository. I create my access token, I copy it, and now I will create a variable, CI/CD variable. So CI/CD, setting CI/CD variables, add variable. So I want to mask my variable. I don't want to protect it. And my variable name will be access token. And I passed the value. And I'm all good for this for the prerequisites. If I come back here, I see that it's done, and later I will have to schedule the monitoring job, but it's once it is created. So now I can say, okay, I configured the SFDX Ardis monitoring prerequisites. I click yes, and now it asks me what org to use, what org I want to monitor. So I am already connected to my org, but just to show how it is to connect to an org, I will click on connect to another org, then custom login URL. And in the custom login URL, I will get the URL of my org. So I can take everything until the force.com. I paste it here. I click enter. It will ask me how I want to log in. So I am on my local computer. I will use web login. And now it will open a login page. So I authenticate. As I am a serious person, I use my MFA to approve the connection. So it is approved. And now I can come back to VS Code, where we will see what's next in the script after a few seconds, because like always with Salesforce CLI, it can be a little bit slow, but it is not my fault. If you are on Linux or Mac, it's kind of faster, I heard. Okay, so now it's alive. It started moving again. Okay, it tells me start again the command, but oh, magic, it started the command again. This is the magic of the VS Code extension. So the first time we need to log in to the org, and the command is started again. But it is transparent for VS Code users. So now we have, as we restarted the command, we have the same question. So prerequisite, they're already okay. Now in the background, so every SFDX RDS command you see, all the command lines run behind are written in the logs. So the goal is that there is no black box. Even technical people can understand what's in it. And now SFDX RDS ask me if I want to create a connected app for the org. So this connected app will be used to authenticate the GitLab server with Salesforce. So I say, okay, SFDX I want to create the connected app. And now this is time for copy paste. So in the log, it tells me create two variables with values. So I will copy the values of the variables and add new variables, again masked and hidden and not protected, in my GitLab. So for those who would like to copy paste the values when seeing this video, you can try, but I will delete the connected app after. So, so the second variable, again, masked and hidden with the value. Okay, so I did what SFDXRDs asked, so I click on yes. He asked for a name for the connected app. Let's call it Apex Hours. It asks for an email. You can give yours. It asks for a profile, so you can select System Administrator. And now a connected app metadata with a certificate has been created behind the scenes and is currently uploaded to your org. So if you are on a sandbox, you will never have any issue. If you are on a production org with failing test classes, you might have to create manually the connected app. But if you have to do that, you will see in the console log instructions about how to do it manually. Because when you deploy in a production org, you need to have all working test classes. So Salesforce limitation. So now Salesforce asks me if I want to save the configuration of the server, meaning git stage commit push. I say yes. And we can see git add, git push. And before going to the server to look what happened, I would like first to filter what I want to monitor, because on my org, I have thousands of reports and I don't want to back up them, really, because it's just reports and it takes time. So we have a file named package skipitems.xml, and in this file, everything matching in the org will not be backed. So by default, we have everything which is sensitive, because we don't want certificates or connected app to be in the backup repository, because it contains secrets. But I can also say, I don't want dashboards, and I don't want reports. It will also help me for the demo because it will be faster. So so now I will add filter more metadata. I commit, and before pushing, just for the demo, I will add a new variable named monitoring ignore frequencies equals true. Why do I do that? Because some of the indicator checks are checked daily, and some others, like release updates or unused license, it is less relevant to check them daily, so they are checked weekly. But for the demo, I want to show them even if we are not Saturday, because they run on Saturday. So I will add a variable to force that. This one is okay. And also, I would like the monitoring notifications to arrive on a Slack channel. So I have a Slack here. I will create a new channel monitoring Apex hours. Let's say it's public because it's my Slack. Don't care who's in it. I also created, so the Slack configuration is a little bit longer when we need to create an application, but again, there is a video explaining all that. But I previously created a Slack application. It's not that long, and I will invite the Slack application I created in my channel. So it is here. And now I will take the channel information. So I will take the ID of the channel, and I will add a new variable, again, maxed and not protected, which will be named Slack channel ID. And I just need a last variable, which is named Slack token. So it is to authenticate to my my Slack instance. So I will take it from my password manager, because everyone should use a password manager. Mask and hidden Slack token. And I think we are all good. So now I have all my variables set. I have added some additional filtering on filter skip items. I will push again, and every time you push something, it generates a pipeline. So you can see, if you want to see it running, you can go in build pipelines in your repository, and you can see that a pipeline has been run. So it is so it takes maybe 10 minutes to run. So before it ended to run, I will show you other things. But what I wanted to show. Oof. Um, mm, mm. So this is only for technical people. So you can see it is using a Docker image, and it will authenticate, etc. But before it runs, I think it will take 5 to 10 minutes. I will already show you the results on another org, which is fully configured. Oh no, and before that, let's say I will be a silly admin. So let's say I am my friend Dimitri Monge, and I log in it. Do you see, Amit, the incognito? It is not hidden. Amit?
Yeah, we can see that.
Ah, okay, perfect, thank you. So let's say I am a silly admin in the production org, and I I will update a global value set directly in production, or remove it, or whatever. Let's say I delete one. I create a new one. Just so you can see the differences after. So our job is running. So usually when we are not in demo, we don't have to wait for it to run, because it runs at night. So while it is running, I can show you what there is in a real Grafana console. So you can have all your orgs here, but for confidentiality reasons, I will only show you the hard disk group, the mothership of Cloudity company uh, dashboard, and we can see all the indicators. So data storage, we can see this is quite good. We have time. We can see, I told you earlier that we can add all the limits. So any limit existing in Salesforce, you can see the use in a sub dashboard. You can see the suspicious updates in production. So even sometimes it happens that Salesforce itself, with a username automated process, changes things in your org. With that, you can see it. And here you can have the evolution by day of how many suspect setup actions are done. And all the ones we see here, they are because of the migration to summer 25. And we can have all the detail. So I won't show you the name of the users, because they are real person, but we can see that we pay for 8 licenses that nobody uses. We can see that we have failing test classes, so we can have the detail here. We can see the coverage. We can see the list of flows and validation rules that are in production and not active, so they should be deleted someday. We can have also unused Apex classes. So if you have queuable or batchable classes, sometimes on a project you have to create a recovery batch, Apex batch, and you will use it once and never again in the future. So if you will never use it again, why not keeping it in the sources? So this indicator can show you the schedulable Apex, which has not been run for some time, so you can investigate, and if you are sure that it is never run, you can just delete it. And if you are in CI/CD, it can be very interesting because if you're doing real CI/CD, every time you make a pull request, you run all Apex tests. So by deleting unused Apex, you will also decrease the time necessary for each of your pull requests. So again, tracking technical debt is a good thing. And you can also see the list of instant packages with their versions and licenses, etc. And meanwhile, where is our backup job? So it is running. So the technical explanations for the backup job. So you know that there is a SFCLI standard command named SF project generate manifest that basically generates the whole package XML for an org. And this is this package that we will use first to apply the filtering, which is defined on our file packages skip items. And once we will have filtered the full package XML of the org with these package skip items, we will do a good old retrieve. So if it wakes up at some time, we will see it. But while it is still running, I would like to show you the online documentation. So this documentation that you see is the one of Hardy's group main Salesforce org. So it is not very advanced. So because we just do a lead opportunity account, but it can already show you what I promised you earlier with documentation of object, flows, Apex, etc. So maybe let's start with objects. So if we open, let's say, I am a new business consultant. I arrive on a new project. If I want to know what is in the project, I can try to read the documentation maintained by the team. Most of the times it is not existing or not up to date. So, so it will be easier to have a documentation automatically generated from the metadatas. And if I see there is an object timesheet. If I click on it, I can see directly only the part of the object model that is related to this custom object. So here I can see all the links. So this is in green, you have the master details, and in light dark, in gray, you have the lookups. And you can see all the name of the fields, of all the objects around. You can see the in red, it is the one you are currently checking. In yellow, it is custom object, and in blue, it is standard object. And there is also another color for managed packaged object, but we don't have them in this org. And if you scroll down, you can see a description that has been generated by Agentforce. So you can see general description telling you what is the custom object used for. You can see some explanations about the different relationships. So we can see the different links and what means each of the links. And it's important to see that it is an old org that we have. So all the documentation that you see here is not from description. It is really generated by Agentforce, like the inverse relationships, like the summary of relationships. And also we can have the list of fields. So with the type. So again, this is an old org. So most of the description that you see here is not the one that has been input in the setup. And Agentforce, with all the data which is sent by SFDX RDs to prompts, can generate, guess what means all the fields. And you can also do the same with validation rules. It can also explain what each of the validation rule is doing. So it means that this documentation can also be understood by business consultants with not mandatory or extended Salesforce knowledge. We can also see the list of flows that are using this object. So here it is a process builder because you have not migrated yet, but you can see where your object is used. You can see in which flows it is used. You can see in which Apex classes it is used, which is the type of Apex classes. You can see in which Apex pages, so Fletchy pages, it is used. And you can navigate from one documentation page to another. Let's say, let's go see on an Apex class. So Apex class, again, we have an AI-generated summary about what it does. So if you want to read the code, you can read the code, but you don't have to do it as Agentforce or your local large language model, if you prefer, can be directly into OpenAI or whatever, summarize what your class does. Um, and, uh, and let's look a little bit at flows, because I think it, oh, is this the real demo effect where it doesn't work at the first time? Uh, well, let's be patient and cross fingers, but it should be it should be already done. What can I do? Do I kill it to start it again? Oh, this is Salesforce. This is sandboxes. Sometimes, so I will kill it and start it again. Sorry for my perfect demo, which won't be perfect. So I will run it again and hope that this time it will run correctly. And meanwhile, just to show the documentation of flows. So we can open the flow builder to see what's in it, but we can also have in a single page that will be also soon exportable into PDF. You have the vision of your flow with decisions, updates, record get, assignments. So this is really built from the flow metadata and using labels with loops, etc. So it's quite understandable. And again, if you don't want to read everything, you can have the description of your flow and Agentforce will tell you everything that your flow does. And if you want to see the detail, you have the detail of all the flow nodes of the variables, the text templates. So you don't have to open each of them to know what's in it, etc. So you basically you have everything, every info that you can have about a flow visible at the same page. If you add subflows, you could click on it and it will bring you to the subflow. I don't know if we have some, but or for example, if you click on condition, it will bring you on the list of condition. Here it is checking stage name. And what if you want to know what was in the past, what happened in the past with your flow? Let's take this one, for example. You have a link, view history, and here you have the list of all states of your flows. So you can see that between the latest state, which was yesterday, and the previous one, we have a launch approval process and a send Slack message, which has been updated. Again, we have the AI-generated difference summary that will tell you what that will summarize you what changed between both of the versions, and you can see also the difference directly in the detail of the nodes. I will show you something where it is maybe more relevant. Maybe this is not the best one to show for real updates. Let's show this one, which is for example here we can see that between those two commits, so those two status, there is a condition that has been added, and check if stage name equals whatever, you have a Slack notification. So you can see in green what has been added, in orange what has been updated, and in red what has been removed. And again, with the summary, with the differences in the nodes, we can see a schedule path has been added here, and we can see here, for example, there has been a big change of the flow, so everything has been added between the first version of the flow and the second one on last April. So with such documentation, you can easily browse in the past to know what are the different updates that happened on your flows. And I come back on my job, and it didn't work the first time. It works the second. I just cannot explain. Sandboxes. I can I can't complain to Salesforce. I will log a case. I don't know, but we see that it succeeded to generate the manifest. It also lists the packages because it will write them in the repository, and now it is doing the retrieve of the metadata. So we see that we will get about 3,000 metadatas. We see that we don't have the reports because I have removed them. We don't have the dashboards. So some cleaning has been done. And once it will finally work, I will be able to show the result. And meanwhile, I will call for your help, Amit. Do we pause or do we discuss? Because I don't have anything left to show.
No, that's good. Only one question, right? To connect with the Grafana, what all step we need to do it?
Sorry?
To connect with the Grafana tool, what all step we need to do?
To connect to Grafana, there is so first you need you can install your own Grafana, but I wouldn't advise it because probably takes a million times to set up and to maintain. But the Grafana Cloud free tier allows to do it. So first you need Grafana free tier, and everything is explained again in the documentation. In the documentation, basically you can type anything and it will bring you to the page. So you type Grafana, it will bring you on this page, and it will explain to you how to create the Grafana free tier, how to handle the configuration. Basically, it's just some copy paste from variables. It will tell you what to put in CI/CD variables. Basically, it will just be here. It will just be more variables in your CI/CD pipeline. So you create your Grafana Cloud free tier. There you will be able to import the default dashboard and to get the credentials, the URLs, the credentials, the tokens, whatever that will be needed in variables. And you define these variables here, and SFDX will detect that Grafana variables are defined and automatically send indicators via JSON to it. It's important to say that Grafana never connects to your Salesforce instance. It just resaves JSON from SFDX hard disk. The only tool that connects to your Salesforce instance is Salesforce CLI and the Salesforce CLI plugin.
And what about
So
for this dashboard? That dashboard need to be created manually into Grafana, or there is a thing which we can import this dashboard?
Alors, about the dashboard, you have a part download SFDX hard disk dashboard, and they are exposed on in the SFDX hard disk repository. So they are generic, so you can just download them and import them in Grafana. So it is explained. So you download the files, you create the dashboard folder, and you import the dashboard files from the repository here. And at the end, you have your ready to use dashboard.
Okay. And regarding the document generation part, I see it's AI driven. So do we need agent for license for it, or
You have two possibilities to use AI. So you can either use directly an OpenAI key. That's what I did at the beginning. But as Salesforce Foundations with Agentforce has 200,000 free Einstein prompts, and this is what we use. So if you activate Salesforce Foundations on your org, you just have to create a single prompt template in your org. I will show it to you. And with a single prompt template, SFDX hard disk can do anything he wants. So I will type prompt. So SFDX hard disk generic prompt. And basically, it's kind of a proxy. You just select the model. So I use OpenAI GPT-4 Mini because it's cheaper and it works well anyway. You can select the allowed languages, but basically, you just have to create a single prompt as it is described in the documentation, and you are good to go.
up to us, we can use the agent force, or we can directly use the OpenAI key?
You can do both. It's if you want to use Agentforce, you activate Agentforce and you define a variable. Use Agentforce. Just this one is enough. If you want to use OpenAI, you get an OpenAI API key and you define it in the variables and you define the model.
What
So
about if I don't have agent for license? Can I only use OpenAI to generate the document?
sure, basically the result might be almost the same, with the difference that when you use Agentforce, you're going through the Einstein trust layer. So as it is your project metadata, maybe you prefer to go through Agentforce with the trust layer than directly with OpenAI. But it works pretty well with OpenAI. And some people in the community requested to be able to connect to other LLMs, and this is something that is in the backlog. So if someone wants not Agentforce, not OpenAI, but I don't know, locally installed LLM or whatever, it will be soon possible.
Got it.
I thank you a lot for the questions, because I think finally, my backup worked and my other jobs are running, but I will go back to my monitoring repository, and I see that there is a new commit, and see if I synchronize it. If I synchronize it, I see that all the metadatas, all the monitored metadatas of my org, they are in my monitoring repository. And if I run it again, because something I forgot because I talk a lot, but once your monitoring is okay, you can schedule its running. So you can go to pipeline schedules create a new pipeline schedule, and let's say monitoring production. Let's say if you put this cron expression, it will mean every day at 1 a.m. Select a time zone. Select a branch, very important because it creates a branch with the name of the sandbox. So you have to select the good branch, create pipeline schedule, and now that's all. Every night with this schedule, my monitoring job will be running. And I think it's almost over. Okay, so some commands still running, but here I am in my monitoring repository. And let's say that I don't have configured the static HTML pages hosting yet. I can just go back on SFDXRDis menu, go to document generation, and click on run local HTML doc pages. And with just a single click from my monitoring repository, it will generate a static website without the AI enhanced stuff, because I have not activated AgentForce on the monitoring repo. But I could do it easily as I showed you. So it runs a little bit. Let it run again. And meanwhile, I'll see that my monitoring jobs are all ended. So let's come back on Slack. Remember that I created a new channel at the beginning of the demo, and I see that there are notifications. So I see everything, every update that has been detected. So this is what is in the Git difference. So here it is really long because it is the first run. So of course it is truncated, but tomorrow, if we update just one or two things, we will see that there will be some problems. I can also see that, oh, people who are not the release manager, like my friend Dimitri Monge, updated flows in production and updated global value sets. If I want to see the detail of that, if I click on view job, it will bring me to the job that triggered the alert. And here in the job artifacts, I can download the detailed reports. So for example, I will open audit trail monitoring. And here I have the whole detail of the actions not that safe that has been detected since yesterday. So I did this one just at the beginning of the demo. We see that I added some value. I added value Apex Arrow Rocks. And the flow stuff, I did it just before. But so from a notification in Slack, with 2 clicks, you can have the full report. We can also see that, oh, Apex tests have failed. I know which Apex test and with which error. I see that some elements are existing but not referred in any profile or permission set, so technical debt. I see permission set license not used. I see users that don't use your license. I see that in 88 days, I will upgrade to summer 25. I see some release updates that have to be checked. I see connected apps that are not used. So all these notifications, you see them once by week, and for the daily run, you will only see the real alerts. So the real alerts, not technical debt. The real alerts will be who updated stuff directly in production, will be limits reached. So for the daily messages, there are less. And anyway, when you want to have all the data, you still have your Grafana dashboard. And meanwhile, and last, so my command run local HTML doc pages has completed. And if I click on it, I can see that it's okay. It's running locally. So this is my documentation. If I don't remember which flow I updated earlier. Anyway, this is the exact documentation generated from my monitoring job. So I think that's all for the demos. So sorry for the little issue in the middle. And I don't know if you have questions. So
No, that's really great. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
you're welcome. Don't all forget to follow Apex Hours on LinkedIn and follow the YouTube channel and also to check the website.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.